All right, thank you very much, Leanne, and welcome to our first webinar on ZoomText. As you know, we have done several webinars with our friends and partners at Vispero talking about JAWS, and we found out folks really want to know more about ZoomText. So this is the first, and depending on your feedback, hopefully it won't be our last. So let's move on to our agenda today. Of course, we will introduce our speaker. We'll go through our objectives, and then the ZoomText getting started is going to consist of a few different things. We're going to compare and contrast ZoomText, Fusion, and JAWS. We'll learn about customizing the magnification menu and how to lessen eye strain with ZoomText features. Customizing for computer applications. We'll wrap it up. We'll have 1.5 CEU credits. And please make sure you put your questions in the chat. Our presenter is Ben Knolles from Vispero. He's an assistive technology engineer. Our objective, so we're going to apply features of JAWS, ZoomText, and Fusion to specific student scenarios. So basically that means we're going to learn what these different softwares do and who might benefit most from them. We'll also learn 3 ways to customize ZoomText from the magnification menu. We'll list 3 ZoomText features that can lessen eye strain and review how to customize ZoomText in a specific computer application, or in this case, a couple of them. So with that in mind, it's time to turn this over to Ben.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Paul. As Paul said, my name is Ben Knolles. I'm going to start my PowerPoint here. My name is Ben Knolles. I'm from Norman, Oklahoma. Norman is it's about 20 miles south of Oklahoma City, where it is currently extremely humid. But other than that, the weather's nice. I grew up in Oklahoma, small town. So I've lived here pretty much all my life. I moved around a little bit, but came back after college. I've been an assistive technology engineer with Vispero, the Paciello Group, which is a division of Vispero, for about a year now, where I work a lot with JAWS scripting. I do train with ZoomText. We work on training, troubleshooting, testing, things like that. Previously, I worked for Newview, Oklahoma as an assistive technology instructor, which is a nonprofit in Oklahoma City. I worked there for about 9 years or so, and I was an AT instructor for about 4 or 5 years before I moved into more administrative roles and stuff. And before I worked at Newview, I was actually a volunteer. I was a volunteer driver, and they paired me with their assistive technology instructor at the time, and she's the one who introduced me to JAWS and ZoomText and all this stuff. And so it was very interesting, and I kind of fell in love with it. So that's how I ended up working in this field. So as Paul said, just real quick, the objectives today, I'm gonna discuss some differences between JAWS, ZoomText, and Fusion. We're going to learn how to customize ZoomText magnification features. I'm gonna demonstrate those. All those different features for you. We're going to talk about the ZoomText reader features and how they can help reduce eye strain. And finally, we're going to look at a couple applications, Chrome and Word, use ZoomText with those and practice customizing ZoomText with those products. So first of all, ZoomText, JAWS, and Fusion. What are they, first of all, and then who are they designed for? So first of all, what is ZoomText? ZoomText Magnifier Reader is screen magnification software for Windows that allows the user to magnify the screen, change screen colors, and customize various items like the mouse pointer and text cursor to make them easy to find and track on the screen. ZoomText Magnifier Reader has basic speech features for reading documents, web pages, and email.
Hey, Ben, did you want to share your screen, by the way?
Oh, my goodness.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. No worries. When you switched over, it didn't share that, so.
Sorry about that. Thanks for
No worries.
pointing that out. I only had 1 cup of coffee today, Mike.
Well, and someone wants you to play the drums after, so I'm going to tell, you know, after another cup of coffee, maybe.
All right, let's try that again. All right, how's that?
Stellar. Great.
All right, cool. Speaking of, that was Mike Wood. He's a strategic accounts manager of education with Vispero, and he's worked for them for 13 years. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so we just described what ZoomText was. Basically, first of all, it's for Windows. All the software we're talking about today is for Windows. ZoomText used to work. There used to be a version that worked on Mac, but it's been discontinued. The other important point about this slide is that it says it has basic speech features. So it's going to magnify the screen for us. It's going to provide some basic speech features if we want to use them. Who is ZoomText for? ZoomText is for any user with enough vision to see a computer screen who may require extra visual enhancements to more comfortably read and access screen content. So it's for people that still have enough vision to navigate the screen effectively when using the visual enhancements. Available versions, there is ZoomText Magnifier, which is just the magnification. It doesn't come with speech. And then there's ZoomText Magnifier Reader, which comes with both features. In my experience, I didn't work a lot with folks that just had magnifier. Usually they had the magnifier reader version, and that's what we'll be doing today. So what is JAWS? JAWS is Job Access with Speech, is what it stands for. It's a screen reader that provides access to Windows. Information is spoken aloud as it appears and changes on the computer screen. So if we're using JAWS, it means that, you know, either I don't have vision or I don't have enough usable vision where magnification is going to help me. So we're not using the mouse pointer anymore. We are, because we can't track it, we can't see it. So we're going to navigate using keystrokes. So JAWS is going to provide much more information for us, the information on the screen. All right, finally, what is Fusion? Fusion provides the features and benefits of having both ZoomText Magnifier Reader and JAWS Screen Reader in one package. The two applications can be used together or separately to suit individual user preferences. So basically, when you install Fusion, it's going to put 3 icons on your desktop. It's going to put ZoomText Magnifier Reader, JAWS, and then you'll have a Fusion icon. So you can run ZoomText by itself, you can run JAWS by itself, or if you run the Fusion, if you activate the Fusion icon, it's going to run both at the same time as Fusion. So who's Fusion for? It's perfect for individuals who over time want a smooth transition from using magnification to a full screen reader. It also benefits users with advanced or progressive vision loss who can take advantage of magnification and full screen reading at the same time. So Fusion is great for folks that have, just like that said, progressive vision loss. So maybe right now, magnification is still working for the user, but they know that their vision's gonna get worse over time, so they want to start using more keystrokes just to get practice. Fusion is great for that because they can use the features of JAWS while also using what usable vision they have. The other really nice thing about Fusion, this last bullet point, Fusion meets needs of organizations seeking to provide tools for every level of visual impairment with a single license and installer. So coming from the nonprofit world, it was great when Fusion came out because we could, we had a lot of blind employees, and we wouldn't always know when we wouldn't always know what to expect. Would we need to put ZoomText on a machine or JAWS on a machine? You can just put Fusion on it, and then whoever uses that computer, whoever sits at that station, they're going to have what they need. They can use ZoomText or JAWS or Fusion. So it was very beneficial when that came out. So the evolution of Fusion, I want to talk a little bit about how we got to Fusion, because over the last, I don't know, 6-7 years, there's been a lot of changes. And those of you that have been working in the field for a while, and even those that are new, you may have heard other products or seen other products in the field. And I just wanted to clarify how we got to how Fusion was comprised of JAWS and ZoomText. So a few years ago, you know, some of the most popular products were Window Eye Screen Reader from GW Micro, which was a competitor of JAWS, which is from Freedom Scientific. And then you had ZoomText Magnifier Reader from AI Squared, and then Magic Magnifier Reader from Freedom Scientific. So you could run JAWS in Magic at the same time, and it kind of gave you the same benefits of Fusion. The user could transition over to JAWS over a certain amount of time if they had a progressive visual condition. But a lot of folks wanted to run JAWS with ZoomText because they felt that the ZoomText magnification was a little bit better or more clear. But when you ran those together, JAWS and ZoomText, they didn't really play nice together. You could run them together, but it wasn't great. So in 2014, AI Squared and GW Micro merged. So that put ZoomText and Window Eyes under the same umbrella. And then in 2016, ZoomText Fusion 10.1 was released by AI Squared. So this was the first version of ZoomText that had a full screen reader as part of the package. And then in 2016, VFO Group, which is now Vispero, the owners of Freedom Scientific, they acquired AI Squared. So now all of those products were under the same roof. So in 2017, Window Eyes is discontinued. And in 2017, Fusion 11 was released by Freedom Scientific, which was composed of ZoomText 11 and JAWS 18. So with Fusion, they've kind of taken, you know, it's personal preference, but they've kind of taken the most popular screen reader and magnifier and put them together. And then finally, May 2020, the final update was released for Magic. And on the Freedom Scientific side, it says that official technical support for Magic will end on December 31st of this year. So that's how we got to Fusion, being composed of ZoomText and JAWS. So one of the main differences of these products, between these products, is how much speech output you get from them. So there's a term called verbosity that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. The verbosity of JAWS or ZoomText, what that means is the verbosity setting determines how much that product speaks. How much does it talk? If verbosity is set to high, he's going to talk more. If it's set to low or beginner, if it's set to low, he's going to speak less. In JAWS, it's if it's set to beginner, it's going to speak more. So I wanted to compare the speech output between the products here. So on the screen, I have a screenshot of the Paciello Group navigation bar on their homepage. So there's a row of buttons across the top that say Home, Services, ARC Platform, About, Resources. And the focus is on About. So the user has tabbed to the About button. So if I'm using ZoomText and I have speech enabled and it's set to its default verbosity, when I tab to that About button and it gains focus, all we're going to hear is About. He's just going to read the text. If I change the ZoomText reader to its highest verbosity, he's going to announce About button. So now he's going to tell us what kind of control it is. So that's the highest verbosity available in ZoomText. Now, if I'm running Fusion with its default settings, when I tab to that About button, he's going to announce About button collapsed. So now he's added the state of the control. It's collapsed. And then finally, if I'm running JAWS at its default verbosity, when I tab to that, it's going to tell me About button collapsed. To activate, press enter. So as we progress through these, you'll see that as we move towards JAWS, more information is echoed, and he gives us a tutor message to activate, press enter. So that is a comparison of the speech output between the products. And then there's some links in here for more information on ZoomText, JAWS, and Fusion. You can go to the Freedom Scientific training site and find the frequently asked questions about these products. So I'm going to switch to virtual machine here so we can start demoing ZoomText. Leanne, if you want to throw up that poll question, now would be a good time.
I will do that. So we have a question. What ZoomText features are you aware of? Now you can select any, all, or none of these. The choices are Zoom windows, full, docked, overlay, etc. Color enhancements, pointer enhancements, cursor enhancements, keyboard echo, mouse echo, app reader, and I can't read the last one, application settings. So which Zoom features are you aware of? And if you can't access the chat, you are welcome to type it in the chat if there's something in there that you had not heard of. And they're still coming in. There's 240 of you out there, so we are working on letting that come in, all of that lovely data. What Zoom text features are you aware of? Well, you have had one person that did tell us in the chat that they know about all of them. Awesome. I'm glad you did. Okay, I'm going to end the poll and share the results. The highest was 80% knew about the pointer enhancements, 75 the cursor enhancements, 60 Zoom windows, 70 color enhancements, and then our smaller ones are the keyboard echo, the mouse echo, the app reader, and the application settings. There you go, and back to you, Ben.
All right, thank you. Okay, so this is ZoomText Magnifier Reader. And what we're looking at here, this is the default configuration. So when you install ZoomText or Fusion, when you run the ZoomText icon, these are the settings that you're going to see. So zoom level set at 2, magnification window is full, so it's a full screen magnification. Color enhancements are off. Pointer enhancements are on, cursor enhancements are on, and focus enhancements are on. Focus enhancement is this red box. If I tab, it'll follow my pointer. And then our cursor enhancements, just in case some of you don't know, that is my cursor enhancement. So as I type, it will follow my cursor. I'm going to hit Control Caps Lock U. That brings me the ZoomText interface back. And then also Reader, I have by default, when you first install ZoomText, voice is on. I have it disabled at the moment, so it doesn't, I'm not talking over it. I'll toggle that on when we start doing some more demonstrations. But so voice would be on, and then keyboard settings are set to words. So that's the default configuration when you first start ZoomText. So before we get into the magnification features, I want to look at the ZoomText menu. And also, if you notice, if I press the Alt key, the ZoomText interface is very keyboard friendly. If I tap the Alt key, and now on the screen we have the Z letting us know that we can tap Z to go to the ZoomText menu, M for magnifier, R for reader, and so on. If I tap the Z key, you'll see the corresponding hotkey for the items in that list. So very keyboard friendly, similar to Word in the ribbons, or Office products in the ribbons. So Under the ZoomText menu, I want to look at a couple things. So we have disable ZoomText as the first item. This comes in handy if you're working with someone and you need to just not completely close out of ZoomText, but you want to disable all the features. You can activate that, and ZoomText will basically turn itself off. The program will still be running. If I activate that, now all my magnification is gone. Everything's back to normal. I can click on ZoomText again, click on Enable ZoomText, and I'm back with my features. So under the ZoomText menu, after Disable ZoomText, we have Help and Learning, and there we have the ZoomText help file. This comes in handy a lot. I reference it quite a bit. Just wanted to point that out. If you're ever wondering about, there's a lot of features in ZoomText, so it's hard to remember all of them. So this is a good resource to go check out. Then we have configurations. So here, whenever we save, whenever we make a change in ZoomText, if I say I come in here and I turn off, I don't want pointer enhancements on. So I clicked the pointer enhancement and it turned it off. If I close ZoomText and then restart ZoomText, that pointer enhancement is going to be on. I have to go, if I make a change, I have to go to ZoomText configurations and then save that as my default. So it doesn't automatically remember the changes you've made. We're going to see a setting you can turn on where it will here in a second, but by default, you have to go in and save your changes. You can also restore factory default. So say you make a bunch of changes and you want to start over, get them back to where they were when you first got ZoomText, you can just activate this item and it will restore the factory default. So it'll look like this and speech will be on. Configurations, I wanted to point this out for everybody. I didn't use these a lot when I was teaching, but they do come in handy for some folks. So what that means is I can come into ZoomText and make a bunch of changes. Say I want to change it to 4. I want to turn on color enhancements, and I want to save this configuration so I can quickly go to it. If I make my changes and then go to configurations and save custom configuration, I can save this, and then you can assign it a keystroke to quickly load it. If I hit caps lock 2, for example, I've made
configuration file 2 loaded.
Configuration 2 was loaded. So on this one, I had a large green pointer. My magnification set at 4, and I have color enhancements
North scheme check
set to invert colors. And you can hear I have speech enabled on this scheme. So if I hit caps lock 1, I can go back to my other scheme. So I'm back to my default view. So some of you may find that helpful. Okay, moving on to application settings. So application settings, this is something I used quite a bit. This is a feature where we can, for example, say that there's an application that your student uses that every time they go into it, they have to bump magnification up. Maybe it's just the way the application is built. Maybe normally in most windows the user is fine with this default configuration, but whenever they switch to that one trouble application, they have to really bump up the magnification, or they have to change the color scheme. If you save your application settings, so for example, I've already done that in Excel. We're going to learn how to do that here in a little bit with Word and Chrome. But if I switch over to Excel, I already have some application settings set. So if I go there, my application settings are, I have focus enhancements on with the red square. I have colors are inverted. I have a giant or the extra large white pointer, and I have a red circle around my pointer to help me keep track of it. So all I did was switch to Excel, and ZoomText loaded those application settings. If I switch over to Word, he's going to load my default configuration, and it takes him a second sometimes. But now we're back to color enhancements are off. I have my yellow pointer, cursor enhancements, and I'm back to 2x. So that is an example of application settings. And back under the ZoomText menu under preferences, a couple things I just want to point out. Program, if I activate that, this is where we can set ZoomText to start at the logon prompt. If I check that box, if I check this box, we can start ZoomText automatically when Windows starts. And down here is the setting where you can, I was telling you that ZoomText doesn't save your settings by default. If you check this box, ZoomText settings will automatically be saved when you exit. So one more thing I want to put out here, because this actually happened to me. There's this run ZoomText as. I ran into an issue a few months ago where this I had a user who it kept starting just ZoomText magnifier. The reader wasn't part of the interface, and it's because this setting, run ZoomText as ZoomText magnifier, was set. And so if you set that when you start ZoomText, you won't have your reader features. So you can actually change it back and forth. But I had never run into that setting before. And finally, under the ZoomText menu, I want to point out the command keys. This comes in handy. This is where we can search for our whatever keystroke. Say I want to find the keystroke for pointer enhancements. I can type in pointer in the search box, and then I can see my hotkey is caps lock P. Also in this window, you can change the ZoomText key, which is caps lock by default. You can change it to scroll, lock, or insert. So, Leanne, do we have any questions?
The basic question that I saw is ZoomText, or is JAWS and Fusion something that can work on a Mac?
Nope, unfortunately.
Okay, and what are the system requirements for Fusion, such as the amount of RAM or the processor?
So let's pull that up. So I tell you the right thing. If we go to, I'm on the Freedom Scientific page. If I go to software and then Fusion, we can see the requirements. And so the requirements, you can use it, Windows 10, Windows 7, 8.1 if people are still using it. The processor, 2 gigahertz i3 dual core processor or similar, i5 or i7 recommended. With Fusion and ZoomText, i5 or i7. Also, 4 gig of RAM is a requirement, but it recommends 8 gig. The more RAM you have, the smoother it's going to be. It'll work on 4 gig, but you might notice some lagging. So they recommend 8 gig. So, and then also an important part here, the type of hard drive, the solid state drive. If you have a solid state drive computer, it works a little faster. But yeah, so 8 gig of RAM, if you can do it, and then i5 or i7 processor. So now let's get into the magnification features of ZoomText. One thing I point out here, I'm going to be using keystrokes. So I'll name the keystroke when I use it. But one nice feature about ZoomText, if I take the pointer and hover over an icon, for example, my pointer's on the Zoom window icon, he tells me there the shortcut is caps lock plus Z, and he's got a little description of what this setting does. So you can hover over any of these and quickly find out the shortcut key, as well as if I'm on, my pointer's on the Zoom level window, he tells me that I can press caps lock up to zoom in, caps lock down to zoom out, and and so on. So that's a nice feature. All right, so getting into magnifier, I want to point out something about ZoomText because I know I've had questions about it in the past. So quickly, I want to point out, I'm going to talk about font smoothing. So I'd mentioned earlier that a lot of the folks I worked with, if you put ZoomText and Magic in front of them, the majority of the folks I worked with preferred ZoomText. And they told me it was because of the font smoothing. So they could magnify, you know, as they magnify in, I'm at 4x here, it's nice and clear. And they liked it more than Magic. So this is called X font. This was ZoomText's font smoothing feature is called X font. Now, right now, this looks very clear. If I go to the start menu, I'm in Windows 10. If I go down to the start menu, or if I hit the Windows key on the keyboard, we'll see that these, you know, the text in here, it's still clear, but it doesn't look the same as the ZoomText window we were in. That's because this is geometric smoothing. And I want to point this out because you may get questions from your students or clients about, hey, why does the font look like this in this window, and why does it look like this in that window? And it's just because in certain applications, X font doesn't work, unfortunately. But this is still pretty clear, and you can zoom it in, and it's going to look okay. But I wanted to point out that difference. So the main areas that you'll notice it are in the Start menu in Windows 10, and it's in Chrome. If you go to Chrome, you'll see that it's using geometric smoothing. So just wanted to point that out because you may see that. And the technical explanation for that, it's the way that Chrome renders its fonts. Unfortunately, I don't know. That's a little above my my level, how applications render fonts, but that's the technical explanation. So I wanted to point that out in case you do get questions about it. I'm going to zoom out or zoom down a little bit. I'm going to hit Control Caps Lock U to bring that interface back up. Okay, so let's look at the Zoom window options. Under Zoom window, we have, I'm using one monitor, so you'll notice here that multiple monitors is not an option. ZoomText does support multiple monitors, but we can't check it out, unfortunately, because I don't have multiple monitors set up currently. Under the one monitor setting, you can see that we have full selected. We have overlay, lens, line, and dot. I'm going to cycle through those real quick. I'm going to turn speech on so you can hear what these different settings are. So I'm going to hit Alt Caps Enter.
Voice enabled.
And my shortcut key for that, I'm going to hover over that. It's Caps Lock Z. So if I hit Caps Z,
Zoom window overlay.
this is overlay. So it's put the magnified view in the bottom right corner of the window. So it switched from view or from full to overlay. Now, if I hit Caps Lock A,
Adjust tool.
I can adjust this window. I can drag it. I can move it to a different area of the screen. I can resize it. I can make it smaller or bigger. And then I can escape to get out of it. So that's overlay. I'm going to hit Cap Z again.
Zoom window lens.
Lens, this follows my pointer around the screen. Again, I can hit Caps A.
Adjust tool.
To open the adjust tool and resize it. I'm going to press escape to get out of it. If I hit Caps Lock Z again.
Zoom window line.
This is my line. It's like a bar magnifier as I move up and down the screen. Cap Z again.
Zoom window docked bottom.
Docked, so I have half the screen magnified, half standard normal view. And as I continue to hit Cap Z.
Zoom window docked top.
Now it's docked at the top.
Zoom window docked right.
Docked at the right.
Zoom window docked left.
And then dock left, and
Zoom window full.
Finally, we're back to Zoom window full. So 99% of the folks I worked with, they usually used full. They preferred that, but it's important to know the different options there. So I usually, I would still show the folks I worked with the different available magnification windows in ZoomText. So moving on. Oh, this is a cool feature
over
too.
freeze view.
I'm going to turn speech off.
Window.
Alt caps enter.
Voice disabled.
So freeze view comes in handy. I'm going to enable that. And so what we have here, I've created a freeze view pane around my clock. So if I move around the screen, I can see my system clock and the date. You can create that by hitting caps lock N, as in Nancy, and I can draw a picture or draw a square. I can draw a square around what I want to keep in view. And then I hit escape to get out of that. So now I've drawn that around the system clock, and as I move, it will stay in view. So you can only use this in full magnification mode, but that may come in handy if a user, maybe they're taking a test and there's a timer on the web page or something. They want to keep an eye on it. And then I can hit caps lock E as an echo to turn that off. So I'm going to hit control caps lock. Oh, there it is. So moving on to our screen enhancements. So,
actually, Ben, this
yes.
is Amy, and would
Hey,
it be
Amy.
all right for us just to pause for a moment before you switch to the next?
Yes.
So there's just a couple of questions, and
Sure.
I don't want to get too far out of hand with the questions, want to keep things going.
Oh,
and
no
so
problem.
this might be a little bit of a backup, if that's
Okay.
okay.
Sure.
Would you be able to elaborate on any system requirements for Fusion, such as the amount of RAM, processor, things like that? Is there any tidbits of information you can help us to better understand?
So
that one he caught. So I'm gonna pause and let that person catch the recording for that one. But why don't you ask the next one, Amy?
Great. So for remote instruction,
mhm.
what remote access or video conferencing platform do you recommend for an instructor to be able to see exactly what the student is seeing during the lesson? Which
Okay.
is just kind of a screaming question in everybody's mind of trying
Yeah.
to adapt what we're learning to remote.
Mhm.
This person says that she's currently using TeamViewer,
Yeah.
but can only see a student's screen as it would be without ZoomText while the
Yeah.
student is seeing.
Yes. So that's a very good point. So first of all, before we get to ZoomText, if you have the option of using Fusion, or if you are teaching with Fusion, you can use JAWS Tandem. So you can press, if you have Fusion running, you can hit Insert Alt T as in Tandem, and that will bring up the Tandem window, and you can establish a connection with the user that way. Now, if you're just using ZoomText, ZoomText doesn't have that option. Like this individual just said, they're having to use TeamViewer. So you can, with TeamViewer, you can probably hear the speech if it's on, but like this individual said, you can't see the pointer enhancements, you can't see magnification. So what you can do, like what we're doing now with Zoom, we actually ran into this problem a couple months ago. I did the first webinar I've done using ZoomText, and while I was getting ready for it, I discovered that I couldn't, the participants couldn't see my magnification features. So what I did was, I'm actually running a virtual machine right now, and when you share your screen with Zoom, if you check, share computer sound, or have the individual, when they share their screen, if you check share computer sound, and then the other checkboxes like optimize video for screen share, if you check that, that might work for you. Again, I'm using a virtual machine in order to get, and that's not something you would probably have access to, but what you can try is have the user, when they do a Zoom meeting with the student, have them share their screen, and then have them check the boxes that say share computer audio and optimize video for screen share. Those are the only two check boxes when they're sharing their screen. Try that out and see if that gets the visual, the screen enhancements to display on your local machine. Sorry, I don't have much more info on that at the moment, but yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are experiencing that.
I can say this, it really should work, at least with the screen reader. It definitely does with Teams and with Zoom. So it really should, in theory, work.
Well, it'll work with the speech for sure, but the magnification features, maybe not. Any other questions?
No, this is great. Thank you for getting us caught up.
Okay, sure. All right, so we're moving on to the screen enhancements. All right, so the first one we're going to look at is color. I'm hovering over that and I can see that it's caps lock C. Now, if I hit cap C, that turns on my color enhancements. If I hit cap C again, it turns off color enhancements. So it doesn't cycle through all the available options like the Zoom window did. If we click on the color button here, the little drop-down menu, we have a menu that says normal, which basically means off. That means you're just using the normal settings. You have scheme, which we have 6 common color schemes, color enhancement schemes. And if I can click on any of these, if I click on yellow and black, and then I hit cap C, that turns it off. Cap C goes back to yellow and black. The caps lock C command is just going to take it back to whatever scheme you were previously on. It won't cycle through every available color scheme. So in my experience, the folks I worked with, one of these color schemes usually worked. I think I only worked with a couple that really had to customize it. But these color schemes are very, very nice. But if you do have someone, say you're working with someone that maybe has like retinitis pigmentosa, it's really difficult for them they can only see certain colors, and you know, that condition, just there's so many changes from person to person. Maybe they really need a custom scheme. You can go into settings. If I click settings, if I click custom under color enhancement, you can start building your own custom color enhancement. Again, I didn't have to use this hardly at all. I think maybe I used it with two users, but you can get in here and really, really individualize it to the user. So after you make those settings, I'm going to turn color enhancements off by clicking this button. After you make those settings, you know, you're going to want to go to configurations and save as default. But yeah, you have your scheme, or you can create your custom. Normal means off. Now, if we move to pointer, you'll see if I click on the pointer menu, this menu is the same: normal, scheme, custom, settings. Under scheme, we have plenty of, again, 6 presets. Yellow with full cross. Some people need those crosses to help with tracking. Red with circle, again, just pre-built schemes in here. If I want to customize it, again, I'll go to settings, select custom, and say I like the yellow, but I want to make it extra large. Ooh, extra large. So I'm selecting that from the drop down, and I want to have short crosshairs as my locator, and I want to make the transparency of that locator more solid. So you can really get in here and individualize this as well. So color, pointer, and then we have cursor. Again, the same type of menu. If I expand that menu, we have normal. Under here, we only have 4 schemes: blue wedge, green circle, red frame, then magenta frame. But we can customize that as well. Very similar to the pointer settings. And then finally we have focus. Same deal. You got your scheme that you can choose from. Normal means off. So when I was sitting down with a new student, I would go through these with them just to see if they preferred one over the other. And honestly, a lot of folks I work with, the default settings of ZoomText work fine for them. But one of the great things about ZoomText is how you can really customize it for the users. So I do want to point out there's this navigation icon here. I'm going to switch this back to large yellow. Oops. Okay. So navigation. If I access this, this is where you can change tracking settings, alignment settings, panning, things like this. I didn't, if I go to, I want to show you an example of what it does. I didn't mess with these settings much because normally, they work fine for my clients and students, but, it's there if you want to mess with it. Mouse pointer alignment, for example, if I change that to where it's, you want the mouse pointer centered within the window. Now, as I move around, the mouse pointer is centered in the window, but like the background of the screen jumps around a little bit more. So a lot of folks I worked with didn't like that. So really, I didn't mess with this stuff much, but it's there if you need it. So just to recap, we have our zoom level, zoom in, zoom out. We have our magnification window. What type of magnification view do we want? Color enhancements, pointer enhancements, cursor enhancements, and focus enhancements. So we're going to move on to the reader tab. How are we on time here?
So before you move on to the reader tab,
yeah.
Mike Wood had a question that was, with all the advancements of Windows and Apple's operating systems having built-in accessibility, how is ZoomText better than Zoom or Windows Magnifier? And Mike said he was going to hop in for that one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before Mike.
So to answer that, I had actually had to reach out to someone not too long ago as well, because I was making sure I asked the experts. So one of the big things is the sharper image and the font smoothing. So there's a lot of development that we've put in to do all that font smoothing, especially at the higher magnifications. The different color palettes and the ability to save them as the defaults, like Ben was showing earlier, where you can have the different defaults. Changing the mouse size, you can do obviously inside of Windows, excuse me, I was blanking there for a second, but you have much more options to do it within ZoomText as well, and changing that shape easily. Having that designated area to be magnified, which can then be moved around by the mouse and size to your different desired sizes. And then the zoom to 1 keyboard command toggle, which makes it really easy from just, if you're magnified up at 5x and you just want to jump right back to 1x, you can do so quickly. The select to read is another thing that is only inside of ZoomText. And then saving different magnification levels to cycle through easily, which I don't know if we've shown that yet, Ben, in the settings where you can save just specific magnification levels to jump to. And so that's a couple of them there. And then I think one of the other ones that I don't even think we've touched on yet, so I don't want to jump too far ahead, but is when you do the color contrast change, and if you were to go to a website and show images that you looked up, the color images doesn't change on the images, so you don't get that kind of x-rayed view or negative view. And that was a big programming feat, so that's another big one.
Yeah, if I reload, so you can see how this is inverted. If I refresh the page, it should fix for us. There you go. So yeah, that's what Mike's talking about.
So your pictures won't be inverted. So that's how I know couple employees, colleagues that work with me were super stoked when we released that.
Yeah.
It was released 2 years ago.
Cool. Yeah, so just to kind of build on what Mike said there, as far as for example, just the level of customization you can do, that differs from like the Windows settings. You can say that you can pick all these different colors to set your pointer, so it's just really, really customizable. Okay, so we ready to move the reader tab? Okay.
Go for it. We'll catch a few others in a bit.
Okay. All right, so I can access the reader tab by just clicking on it, or I can tap Alt R and move to it. Under the reader tab, visually it looks very similar to the magnifier tab. It's laid out kind of the same way. I'm going to turn the voice on here in a sec, so I'll try not to talk over ZoomText so we can understand what it's saying. But the first item on this list is voice, the first icon. If I hover over that, you can hear, or you can see that caps lock Alt Enter is the keystroke to toggle the voice on and off. Before I turn them on, I want to look at the drop down here. You can also enable it by clicking on it. Add remove voices. So if any of you want, there's plenty of voices to choose from. If you prefer, if you want to hear Lee from Australia.
My name is Lee and I am an Australian English voice available for use with Freedom Scientific products such as JAWS.
There's plenty of different accents and male, female voices. So you can select one of these and select install selected voices, and it'll go through. You have to be an admin on the computer to do that. But plenty of vocalizer expressive is what that's called, to choose from. So I'm going to go and turn on speech with Alt Caps Enter.
Voice enabled.
I'm using the default voice, which I believe is Tom. Then we have voice rate. This is how fast he's going to speak. I can use Alt Caps Lock up.
110 words per minute, 130 words per minute, 140 words per minute,
Or down.
130 words per minute, 120 words per minute, 110 words, 100 words per minute, 50 words per minute, 90, 100.
So you can set your rate however you want. Moving on to keyboard. So by default,
Keyboard.
Keyboard is turned on. Keyboard echo is set to words. So, and then I'm going to hover over that to see what our shortcut key is. And it's caps lock Alt K. So I'm going to hit Alt Tab. I'm using the keystroke Alt Tab.
Task switching. Fusion. Freedom Scientific. Google Chrome.
Using Alt Tab to move to a different program. This is a keystroke everyone should know. Most of you probably know it, but it's something your student would or client would benefit from. So they're not having to move their mouse all the way down to the bottom of the screen and then click an item. Alt Tab will let you move.
Task switching. ZoomText. Document one word.
To what you want. So I'm on document 1. So
Document one word.
I want to hear what keyboard echo does. So I'm going to delete
Space. Space.
So it's set to words right now. So if I type Oklahoma, he's not going to echo my keys. But when I hit the space bar,
Oklahoma.
he repeats the word that I typed. So if I hit Alt Caps K,
Keyboard echo enabled for keys and words.
now it's going to say keys and words. So if I type Oklahoma City,
Capital I. T. Y.
he's going to echo
Space City.
keys and words. Now, if you type fast,
City.
he tries to keep up with you, but if you're a fast typer, it may be hard for the user to actually hear what's being said. But this is a way that using keyboard echo, if I'm typing the word hello,
L space hell space
and I
helo.
spelled it wrong, the keyboard echo is going to alert me of that. So I can
space, O,
go and change
Oh.
that. Oop, I gotta spell it right.
L. End of
So
hello.
if I hit Alt Caps K again,
Keyboard echo disabled.
it's disabled. If I hit Alt Caps K one more time.
Keyboard echo enabled for keys.
Now it's on keys.
Keyboard echo enabled for words.
Now it's on words. So that keystroke cycles
Test.
through all the available settings. So I'm going to hit Control Caps Lock U again to bring up my interface.
ZoomText magnifier reader.
One thing
Keyboard.
you'll notice about these keystrokes, if it has to do with speech, usually it's Caps Lock Alt and then something else. The magnifier tab
Pointer.
was Caps Lock and then another key. Usually the reader,
Keyboard.
if you can't remember what it is, it's usually Alt. It's Caps Lock and then Alt and then something else for the most part. So keyboard echo is going to help us out. Mouse echo is something that was a lot of the folks I worked with used this feature. So we're going to turn that on. First of all, before we turn it on,
Mouse.
by default it's off. No echo.
No echo checked.
Then we have instant and hover. So
Mouse.
I'm going to hit Caps Lock Alt M. That's what the keystroke told me it was. So I'm going to hit Caps Lock Alt M.
Mouse echo set to instant mode.
It goes to instant mode. So if I put my pointer over, I'm going to put it over an icon.
Word. Rate 100.
I'm just moving my pointer
App
around
reader.
the screen. If I go over to
Word
Word
tree running Windows.
and say we go to
Test document. Word.
test document. Now,
Boroughs of New York City.
if I put it on a line of text, by default, he's going to read the whole line.
Manhattan, New York County, is the geographically smallest and most dense.
So I worked with a lot of folks who love this feature. However, when you have it on instant, you'll notice as you move around the screen,
Mailings. Reference layout. Individual
Yes.
American city. Brooklyn.
ZoomText gets real chatty. So instant may not be the best setting. That's where we have the hover setting. So if I hit Caps Lock Alt M again,
Mouse echo set to hover mode.
now I have to, if I move around the screen, he's not going to be so quick to speak what's under the mouse pointer. But if I hover over the line or word,
Boroughs of New York City.
he'll read it.
Manhattan. Manhattan, New York County, is the
I worked with quite a few folks who said they liked the instant one, the instant mode, and we'd set that for them. And the next visit, they'd be begging me to turn it off because it was just too too responsive. So so the hover mode works for a lot of folks. If I hit Alt Caps M again,
mouse echo
it
disabled.
disables it. You can go
Test
in.
document.
I'm gonna hit Caps Control U to bring up the interface.
ZoomText magnifier reader. Mouse.
You can go into settings.
Settings. Mouse.
And set that hover time. It's at half a second. You can make it shorter, you can make it longer, and you can also
Instant.
you can
Echo the word only.
you can
Echo all words.
you can echo the word only, or you can echo all words in the subject line. The all words in the line or object. I mean, that's the one that's
Echo all words.
set by default.
No echo.
So that
Zoom
this is a
text.
feature that can really come in handy for folks who don't want to, they say they can't read this word icon here or Google Chrome, or they can't really tell, they can't make out what the text is. If they have mouse echo enabled, they can just hover their pointer over it and it's going to tell them. They don't have to strain their eyes trying to see it. As long as they can kind of see the text is there, putting pointer over it's going to read it to them. And that's going to help with eye strain. Then we have the verbosity setting. This is where
Verbosity,
we can
low
see
check.
that low is checked. That's the default. Just to give an example of the different verbosity,
Verbosity.
I'm going to,
Mouse.
okay, I'm going to tab to the verbosity button.
Verbosity.
And all he said was verbosity. If I change that to high,
High. Reader.
and then
Mouse.
if I tab back to it, so now I'm on high verbosity.
Verbosity button for access key press. Alt comma R comma B.
Now he told me, hey, you're on the verbosity button and here's the shortcut. So by changing the verbosity level,
Tooltip medium
it's
low
going
for
to give us more speech output. All right, so app reader.
Open app reader.
Turn speech off for a second. Alt caps enter.
Voice disabled.
So under app reader, we have a few different tools. You have app view, text view, and then you have the speak it tool. For those of you who use ZoomText in the past, doc reader used to be a feature. It's not here anymore, but text view has kind of replaced that. And right here, I'm hovering over the icon so we can see all our, it tells us our keystrokes there. So I'm going to Alt Tab over to Word. And I'm going to turn App Reader on with Alt caps A as an alpha.
Boroughs of New York City. Manhattan, Manhattan.
Now I can press Control to pause speech. You can tell when I launched App Reader, he started reading automatically. I hit Control to pause him, and now with my pointer, you can, for those of you that can see, there is a little icon next to my pointer, and that shows that I'm still in app reader mode. So I can click on a word. I'm going to click on another paragraph.
Brooklyn.
And he repeats the word. So I want to get him to start reading again. So I'm going to press enter.
Brooklyn, Kings County, on the western tip of Long Island, is the city's most populous borough. Brooklyn is known.
I can pause him again with Control. To get out of this, I can either right click. To get out of app reader mode, I can right click or I can hit escape. If I'm in app reader mode and I try to like click on if I try to click on the home tab in the ribbon, he's going to give me the little error sound. So you want to get out of app reader before you try to do something else. So I'm just going to hit escape. And now my cursor enhancement's back and I'm back into where I can edit this. So that's app reader. If I do Alt caps T as in Tango.
City. Manhattan's population density.
This brings up the text view mode. Now this is what doc reader used to look like for those of you that are familiar with older versions of ZoomText. What it does, it takes the text and puts it on a black background. You can modify this. You can go to settings and you can change all these color schemes. You can make the text a different color. You can make the background a different color. You can, lots of settings in here that you can change. You can also, from this view, you can modify
zoom level 7.
The zoom level. I'm zooming in.
Zoom level 8.
Your keystrokes work too, so if it hit caps lock up arrow, it's going to zoom in, zoom out. I can change my speech right now. This is in prompter view, so it's taking up the whole screen. I can put it
ticker.
I can
ticker
click
mode.
Ticker mode, which it's like a stock ticker across the top of the
ticker.
screen.
App view.
And then app view, which that's not going to work, sorry. App view is like app reader. So that was text view.
Boroughs of New York City.
Manhattan, again, it's the
Manhattan.
Same, it's
prompter mode.
Sorry, it's the same keystroke Control to stop him from talking, and then you can either click the play button
City,
or press
Manhattan.
enter to continue reading. So, and as he reads, you see he highlights the word, and again, you can change the color of that highlight. So that is
R.
Text view. The other tool is the Speak It tool. So if I Alt caps S is in Speak
App
It.
reader, Speak It tool.
I can click.
Mailings.
I can click on a word if I'm not sure what it is.
Design. Draw.
I'm clicking on words in the ribbon.
Hell.
So if you're having problems making out what a word is, you could use mouse echo, or you can hit Alt caps S and then click on the word.
Draw.
Say you say it's something in the file menu that you're not sure if you want to click on, but you want to know what it says.
Insert.
That'll repeat it for you. So I'm going to hit escape to get out of that. So that is App Reader.
And is this a good time? This is Amy again, just to
Yeah.
kind of interject and ask a few questions.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm going to start kind of towards the end and then work ourselves back, starting most recent. So Just want to make sure for clarification, App Reader does not work on all websites? Or was that a misunderstanding?
Well, so, that's a good question. For most of the websites I go to,
Fusion. Fusion is the ultimate access.
it works, but that's a question we may want to get back on. Depending on how the website is built, that may affect app readers' ability to read it. So for example, say that there's an image that's displaying, say they put an image up that contains this text and it looks like this, but it's actually an image. App reader's not going to read that. I have seen in the past where app reader will jump around on a website, but I can't say for sure, unfortunately, like if it won't work on all websites. I know that I personally have seen it act funny on some, but it's been a while. So
Okay.
Mike, I don't know if we can get a more technical answer on that.
Yeah, if there's some questions that we're unsure of, because we're definitely not, I'm not super techy with this, we can take note of them, and then you can also email, my email is mwood@vispero.com, and drop me an email with the question, and then I will make sure to answer it or get it answered for you.
Yeah, it would be nice to, and I can try to find that out too, like to clarify, okay, if it doesn't work on a website, why?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're keeping track. Leanne and I are keeping track on this end of some of those questions too, so we can make sure that you have access to that. Just backing up a little bit more about Echo. Does Echo work on websites or just computer icons and Word documents?
Let's check it out. All caps M. Oh, I gotta turn speech on.
Voice, enabled.
All caps M.
Mouse echo set to instant mode.
So I'm on the web.
With vision loss are served. Visual enhancements for screen viewing ease. Fusion.
Should work anywhere there's text.
Okay.
Home
Yeah.
Fusion.
It's working on the web.
Okay, great. Thank you. Then there were just a few others just to touch upon. So in talking about the ZoomText and these features, are you able to share any information about how it works with Google Classroom and Canvas?
Ooh.
And it's okay if we don't. We can definitely follow up later and give more information.
Yeah, I have not worked with Canvas. I've heard a lot of good things about Canvas, but I haven't used ZoomText with it. So yeah, that might be one we want to follow up with someone who's used it with Canvas.
And I know we're looking at doing some future webinars as well on different, working with different programs. So that might be something we have to do.
That would be a good one.
Yep.
So if we could just have time for two more, is that okay?
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So the command changed from the previous version of some of things, and some participants were just curious as the rationale or if just the reason why things may have altered and changed a bit.
Yeah, I know. I had to learn those new keystrokes too. When ZoomText and the short answer is I don't know why they changed them, but I can guess that they modified them to where it probably had something to do with Fusion and having JAWS work more smoothly with ZoomText.
From what my understanding was, because I get asked that a ton, it had to do with there were too many overlapping keys with Windows.
Yeah.
So what was happening was we needed a different set so that we could do more functionality using the keyboard and not overlap with Windows key commands.
Voice disabled.
I can show you a trick. I wouldn't do this because you want to learn the new keystrokes, but if you go to the ZoomText menu and if you go to command keys, you can go to import hotkeys and you can access this ZoomText legacy hotkeys.
Oh.
They're in there. So that's one, like, you could go in and it would be like Alt Delete to disable ZoomText. Now I've forgotten the old ones, but they're in there and it's available if you want to do it, but that might create more confusion down the road. But they did put that feature in there.
Okay, that is very handy to know. Well, I think that the last question, and then we can let you get back on,
Sure.
is such a great question. Can some of the adjustments, like you were talking about the rate, be locked or changed by admin by only adjustment? Meaning, sometimes kids can get off task by playing with things. So are there a way that these enhancements, that once they're set, that they can be locked? We're asking great questions today.
That's a really good question.
Okay.
Kids will figure out. So what you can do, there's if you use the configuration setting, if you say you want to have your default settings, if you save a custom configuration, what it does is it actually saves it as a file here. Like this test one is the one I showed earlier. If I hit caps 2, I can
configuration file 2 loaded.
I can switch it to that. If what you might try is set a configuration file to the settings you want and save it, and then after if someone has if a student has messed up the settings to where you don't like it, what you can do is you can load that configuration file and then
help and learn configurations.
Come in and save it as default, and then it'll put it back to where you want it.
Configuration.
So basically,
ZoomText menu.
I'm sorry, I'm going to turn that off.
Voice disabled.
If you have a configuration file saved, you can quickly load it and save it back as your default. So unfortunately, I don't think there's a way to lock it, but I'm going to find out because that's a really good question. I'm surprised I haven't been asked that before.
Well, great. Thank you so much. I think we are all caught up and encourage you to move on. Doing
Okay,
great.
cool. All right. So where were we here? Let's go to Reader tab. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and look at under the tools. We're not going to talk much about tools today, but I do want to point out the Finder feature. We're going to use this with Chrome and Word. It's just a way to quickly find information on the page, similar to like links lists or headings lists if you're used to that in JAWS. The other features here we're not going to demo, but they come in handy. Listening background reader. Basically, what that means is you can highlight a bunch of text and copy it, and then have it played back to you. Say you want to work on something else while having ZoomText read an email to you or a document, you could use that. Recorder gives you the option to copy text, so I could copy a document and then actually save it as an audio file and listen to it later. But and then camera, if you have a Pearl camera, if you're familiar with that, this kind of works like a electronic video magnifier or CCTV. If you have a Pearl plugged in and you turn this on, you can put paper under it or documents and zoom in, magnify stuff on your desktop. So let's go to Word and look at a couple things. So we talked about application settings and saving specific ZoomText settings for programs. So first of all, I'm going to turn speech on.
Voice enabled.
Just to demo some of the speech here. If speech is turned on, I can arrow through this document.
Blank. Manhattan. Manhattan, New York County, is the geographically smallest.
ZoomText does have text reading commands. If I right arrow, he's going to go letter by letter, just like JAWS. Up and down arrow, he'll read line by line. There are some more keystrokes specifically for text reading with ZoomText. You can find those in the help file. For the most part, I just used up and down arrow keys and left and right. But there are some specific text reading keys. So let's say that we're working with someone who wants to, when they're using Word, let's say this is too bright for them. The normal color scheme in other applications works fine, but when we go to Word, it's a little too bright, so we want to invert the video. And we don't like cursor enhancements, or we don't like the current cursor enhancements, they want to use a different one just in Word. So what we would do, we hit caps lock Control U.
ZoomText.
Or you can alt tab to ZoomText. I'm hitting caps Control U to bring it up. So I'm going to set, say this user wants to always go into Word
2.2, 2.5.
into 2.5, and they want speech to be off.
Voice disabled.
And we want to set the color scheme, invert brightness, and we want Word to have the green circle as our cursor enhancement, and we don't want focus enhancements, and we like the yellow one pointer, so we'll leave that. So what we're going to do here, we've set our application settings for Word, so now we need to save them. So I can go to hit caps Control U, and I can go to ZoomText, application settings, and then save application settings. And he says, do you want to save application settings for Microsoft Word? And I say yes. And so now if I alt tab to Chrome, for example, switches it bumped my magnification back down to 2. My color scheme went back to, it's off, it's just normal colors. If I alt tab back to Word, he switches over automatically. So that's how we can, and then he just bumped up to the 2.5 magnification. So that's how we can assign, customize ZoomText settings for a specific application. You can also, let's go over to Chrome. One thing you'll notice, I'm going to point this out. The first time you run Chrome, I'm just on the Freedom Scientific homepage here. The first time you run Chrome, so you've installed ZoomText, you're running ZoomText. The first time you open Chrome, you're going to get a pop-up or a little dialog box that says, do you want to install the ZoomText extension? And what that is, the feature that Mike pointed out earlier, that allows ZoomText to, when you're inverting colors, it's called ZoomText Smart Invert. See photos in their natural colors when using the ZoomText invert brightness or invert color effect. You'll be, the first time you start Chrome with ZoomText, you'll be prompted if you want to install that. And if you do install it, that's what lets you, when we switch, I got to refresh the page and it'll kick in. That's what allows the photos to appear as they normally do, even when you have inverted colors, that plugin. Okay, so I want to show you the Finder tool we talked about. So I'm in Chrome, I'm on Freedom Scientific's page. If I hit Control caps lock F as in find, this opens up my Finder, and there's a dialog box here. It's by default, it's set to all text. I can change that to say I just want to find links. Say I'm on a large website and I'm trying to find like the contact us link. I could change this to links. I could enter my search text. So I'm just going to use, I'm going to search for downloads. I see a downloads link there. So I'm going to type in downloads and press enter.
Downloads.
And he focuses the pointer on downloads and he moves your focus down there. If I press enter again,
download.
It moved to, where was it? Well, it found a word somewhere.
Download.
Oh, there it is. Just a little off screen. So he'll search the screen for what you're looking for. And again, you have headings, links, images, tables, lists, controls. It's a lot of options there. And with Chrome, you know, once you get your application settings set, so if another way to save your application settings, if you don't want to go to the menu, say I'm going to turn pointer enhancements off, caps lock P, and I want color enhancements on for this, I could hit Control caps S as in save, and that's another way to save your application settings. So Let me check my notes here. So I think I covered just about everything I wanted to chat about. Does anyone have any other questions?
So this is Amy again, and I'm just looking over at maybe some of the miscellaneous things that we could ask, if that's okay. Might be jumping around a bit.
Oh, no problem.
When you were talking about ways to customize things, there was a comment about some students need to customize panning.
Yes.
And there was a question about, is this something that you might be able to quickly just demonstrate?
Yeah, let's see. So panning. Oh, sorry. God, I have to think of. So they want to customize panning?
It says that, yes.
So if I go to, I'm on the magnifier tab, and if I click navigation, panning is one of the options under here. So you can enable smooth panning, slower, faster, and you can also use smooth panning in app view. And I'm sorry, let me cheat real quick and look at the command keys. To pan, where is panning? It's control, let's see. Sorry. That keystroke has escaped my mind for the minute.
No, that's great. We are learning just from seeing you problem solve as well.
Okay. Well, control caps up, left, down, and right snaps you around the screen. But go ahead with your next question, and I'll find.
Sure, no worries. So this goes back to voices, the voices that the different voices that you can have speak to you. Is there a limit on how many voices you could download?
No, you can download all of them. Some of them are they're pretty big, so it might take up some space on your computer. But no, they're free. You can download them. So you can use as many.
Okay. So when, with sticking with this idea about configuring and customizing different pieces of ZoomText, is there specific detail that you can share about which pieces may require Windows admin privileges or what can be maintained by a user?
Yeah, so off the top of my head, and I know a lot of you work in school environments and you're probably pretty locked down. So obviously installing ZoomText or Fusion or JAWS, you're going to need administrative rights. You're going to need administrative rights if you need to install updates, and you're going to need administrative rights to install the voices, because that's a download in a. I think those are the main three. But you'll be able to save your settings and preferences. But the initial install, the processing updates, and then your voices, those are the main three that come to mind.
Okay. So I see that we are winding down on our time, but here is an additional question about browsers. Is ZoomText optimized for the new Edge browser, or do you suggest using Chrome instead?
So the new, I'm not sure when they released it, but I use Chrome primarily, but the new Edge browser is using the same kind of technology as Chrome. And so now, like JAWS, you'll notice it's starting to work better with Edge. And let's take a look at it just real quick if we have a second, because I haven't used it much with Edge yet. But I know that Edge has made some improvements. Let's see what font smoothing looks like. Oops. If we go to Freedom Scientific, my computer is slow. So it's a little fuzzy in the address bar there. But font smoothing looks pretty good right there.
That's great.
Looks
Thank you
similar.
for being able to demonstrate that and just
Yeah, sure.
problem solve on the cuff.
Sure.
Services.
App reader works.
Okay.
So yeah, it looks pretty good. I'd have to
Great.
play with it more, but yeah, check it out and see what works best for you.
Okay. Well, I definitely see that we are out of time. And so I'm going to hand it off to you, Leanne, if that's okay.
That is okay. We have been gathering quite a bit of information. This was definitely the getting started version of ZoomText, and we hope to have other sessions regarding ZoomText. So if you think of something else that you would need, you are welcome to go to our training page and put some requests in. That helps us out. I want to say thank you to Ben and Mike for providing us this webinar and giving us an in-depth look of ZoomText and just how to get started with it. Thank you.
Sure.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ben. And thank you, Leanne.